When a game rises in popularity and gains a cult following, it often is followed by a dedicated speedrunning community just naturally. But what happens when it's reversed? When the developers design a video game that was always meant to be a speedrun? I love required and even unrequired levels of speed in gaming. A perfect game to me has that style. It's great color design and definitely a skilled ceiling of speed. Games that can be beaten and have fun by beginners, introducing mechanics and adding new obstacles or enemies all wrapped up in this fun package. But with certain mechanics and really solid level design especially, beating a level in 30+ minutes your first time around to any game only to understand and then practice this route afterwards, it's like beating a Rubik's Cube. Then repeating back the stage and suddenly beating it in less than 5 minutes is a special euphoric feeling. I mean, I feel this way when I struggle to kill a boss in Shadows of the Colossus. Some of the later bosses take a bit of routine to navigate and take down, but then going through the motion so many times until you beat it, it now appears like an ability. You soon unlock that muscle memory to go back through the boss like it was nothing, like the past hour and a half didn't even fucking matter. I feel the same sense of vibration in games like Tony Hawk or Jet Set Radio. Hitting a combo, a tasty line of tricks gives me a false sensation of accomplishment. But the games that are designed for speedrunners in mind add this whole new complicated layer of speedrunning, having this timeline of skill sets for beginner speed lovers and then the more advanced runners too. It's all about feeling cool, and the games I've been playing lately emphasize that greatly. The game that inspired me even to write about this style of games in the first place, Ghost Runner. I haven't gotten to dive into Ghost Runner 2 that much yet, and so far I'm slightly underwhelmed. But as of playing the original Ghost Runner completely, it's designed exactly to rush players in, speedrun in this neo-apocalyptic world full of cybernetics, crazy platforming, and a ninja skill set. If Titanfall 2 had a sick katana and was set in Cyberpunk 2077, then you just envision the love letter that is Ghost Runner. There's a pretty simple story, and it maintains a balanced character roster. It obviously enjoys its world and its story elements, but neatly fits them into where it doesn't take over what we are really here for. The best addition of new lore and story is in these weird futuristic sections, where it normally teaches us a new mechanic or obstacle element in some kind of way, while giving us these dialogue lore dumps. Ghost Runner is actually closest to something like Dishonored, which is another great example actually for this subject, but maybe I will talk about that specific game a whole nother day. But it's first person, and our character Ghost Runner holding a nice katana as his melee weapon, and as you progress, you unlock abilities that can help you with movement and taking down enemies. The game looks great. Its world is very gamified, so certain bright neon lights and colors act as path points, and the enemies can glow, all proving that the game is meant for you. It's a parkour game at its core, what with trial and error elements that classic games have, but what sets it apart is how quick you can get right back into running. A one button click and then instantly you're back to the beginning of that path. The greatest feel of Ghost Runner is a little bit of that unpredictableness alongside that. As you get comfortable with your character and his weight and his speed, you start to find lots of unique ways to move around, little quirks that don't feel intended design-wise, but become some of my favorite ways to interact with this world. For example, the very first level, learning all of the mechanics and fighting enemies for the first time, gathering the confidence and muscle memory to do these tricks and jumps, everything is learned through this first stage. And it's a very fun and fitting introduction that only takes a couple minutes to get through. But for speedrunners, using very technical jumps, wall bounces, and sliding momentum, figured out how to destroy that first stage in less than a minute. No glitches or crazy out-of-bound braking, just the Ghost Runner fundamentals. Even the developers and directors of the games were mentioning how they are making more than just an action game with speed, but a speedrunning game. And first dropping the demo was only then that they realized how exceedingly better speedrunners actually are. While, yes, making great stages designed for this and good mechanics like ledge boosting and wall bouncing, even the creators underestimate the power that would soon come from these basics. But Ghost Runner is a powerful tool for technique and speed. It's a platformer meant to express your scientifical, fast-paced creativity. The collectibles even pose as these tiny optional tests to explore higher or hidden areas normally requiring some extra jump or boost to get into. The boss battles continue to test your resilience, each asking you to do new things you haven't quite done before now. The first boss outright tests your platforming ability, using every single mechanic you have used so far in the game. The tricky wall running, the constant grappling sections and sliding, jumping, slide boosting, and blinking while you make your way up this machine, all while avoiding overwhelming blasts of lasers and fire, never being able to stand still here. It challenges everything you have learned without telling you what's to come. It was one of the most satisfying levels, and really the only boss battle like this so early on as well. It's almost peak Ghost Runner. I hope heaven is real, because the boss battle fighting the robot named Hell was just so nice to live through. It threw my knowledge of the current game out for a loop, requiring me to actually fight an opponent instead of viewing them as just some obstacle. Hitting these timed attacks, countering Hell's sword with my own valued katana was a punch in the gut, but allowing me to feel powerful as I conquered that 1v1. The next interesting boss being Mara, more akin to your traditional boss fight. This one is more so what I expected the game to have in the first place. It did kill me a few times, sure, enough to make me realize I was being stupid and not focusing, but I sensed this one was slowing me down a little bit on my playthrough. Not enough to warrant any disapproval, but as far as speedrunning designs go, this boss was stopping me a little bit. But the real and final boss battle of the game, spoiler warning of course, it's some of the most fun I've had in a couple months for a boss battle. The Architect. It's this character that basically goes full AI and forms this cybernetic level attacking you with some fantastic platforming obstacles. My favorite setups go throughout this level over the entire game, and it really had me hooked, alongside finishing off that really pretty interesting story, which really grew on me a bit more as I played, made for this really fun end to Ghost Runner. As I'm playing through Ghost Runner 2 right now, I hope it gives me that same addiction and challenge, and I hope it gives me that intricate obstacles that I've been looking for. Maybe ones where I can take advantage of the abilities more often, like countering bullets or whatnot. But Ghost Runner offers a perfect opening for beginner speedrunners, and after beating the campaign, if you want a real challenge, you can step up to the plate in the mode Kill Run. Short but more intense levels where you have a limited amount of time to pull up some fucked up platforming levels. This is also where mechanically Ghost Runner excels. Siam is literally titled Siam, Speedrunners from Hell. A game designed with only speedrunning in mind. Siam kind of represents this type of genre for the concept I'm talking about. The category of lower budget indie games made to be replayable. No crazy graphics, almost zero storyline, just straight action. Now, I'm talking about Siam specifically, but I will use this game as an all-encompassing message about the smaller goal-focused indie games. Siam uses that style of classic FPS games like Quake or Doom, the movement shooter genre, essentially. Siam is cheap, it lacks any depth, and is willingly silly, but I love Siam. For everything it tries to do, it does really well. It's not meant to be Doom or Quake, it just plays like it, and it doesn't want me to keep up like in the previously mentioned Ghost Runner, but acting as a speedrunner game to the highest degree. It constantly improves each level to challenge you and waste absolutely no time putting you right back into the running. One of the clearest mechanics of a good speedrunning game in this style, in my opinion, is its use of that reset feature, as in a specific button designed to instantly reset you back to the start of the level. The most needed feature in this game for sure. I am not waiting to finish a bad run. Siam starts out with a redneck character, then he gets his hand chopped off by Satan, yeah, okay, yeah, we're going with this. And then in an attempt of revenge, he cuts Satan's hand off as well, and ends up surgically adding on Satan's hand onto his own, giving him fireball powers. That's the story of Siam. Metal music, fiery depths of hell, and speedrunning. Holy shit, the holy trinity of Siam. Siam is a great addiction for lovers of these types of FPS games. But let's get a little more rare. Siam is almost a lovable minigame from Brutal Legends. If anyone is a fan of that style of look and humor, Siam fits that pretty well in this archetype, even more than Quake. But Siam feels janky, The jumps often end up feeling too loose when landing on the floating platforms, and if you're not 100% confident in starting your long jump, it can feel too heavy, leading to some early falls. But jank as it is, it's still a very skill-based game. The levels are tight and have pretty set paths to the goal, but figuring out the fastest combo to get to that goal is where the game really starts to shine. An online leaderboard is included, which is really important here, giving me, and I assume many others, that extra bit of motivation to try again on a level, or that extra aggravation to try again because stubbornness. But CM allows me to focus on a core mechanic and really lock in while zoning out simultaneously. I love these games. I need these types of games. Ghost Runner was close to this, but as the story got more intriguing and the mechanics or abilities became diverse, I had to focus my attention more into it. With CM, I can relax while watching YouTube, while somehow also locking in. It's the greatest time I can have. It's exciting, and the game is fully knowledgeable in its power. There's a whole flurry of skips to be found. Some of the power-ups can be absolutely broken, and the whole point of this game is to gain any information on each level, and to do that, you do what speedrunners do, trial and error. CM is awesome. You can turn your brain off, you could shoot fireballs, defy gravity, teleport, and I bought it for $1.49 on my PS5. What a fucking deal. Actually, another beautiful indie game that encapsulates this style of game is Cluster Truck. Perfectly bouncing and maneuvering through a cluster of trucks and obstacles is so satisfying. Some of the skips and jumps in this game is wonderful, and honestly, for any gamer new to these types of games, I would recommend Cluster Truck first. Anyways, if you have any smaller other indie games like this that just have that one fun sole purpose or are speedrunner friendly, please leave a comment below so I can check these out. I would love some more. So let's think here. What are some other games that feel like they had speedrunning designed in mind? Cuphead, Binding of Isaac possibly, or maybe even A Short Hike. Does anyone remember that one? All indie games I love and adore, honestly, and while the speedrunner aspect could be partially true, I never felt too encouraged to play these faster than previous times, although speedruns would be fun of these. Oh, actually, I have the perfect game in mind. But before that, let's have a good discussion on the small difference between a good speedrunning game and a game with speedrunning in mind. I did mention all of this earlier a tiny bit, but it really is an interesting product of a new generation. While the creation of gaming and constant evolution of it as a community, speedrunning got attached to that, but that formed into running these games that could be played faster. Super Mario Bros. 3 or Ocarina of Time being broken and maximized to have these perfect routes to beat the game as fast as possible. Sonic the Hedgehog even being designed to be played faster. But back then, none of them were necessarily designed with our modern concept of speedrunning in mind. With the new generation, like Ghost Runner and like CM, the original concepts being derived from the communities that broke these nostalgic games in the past is this crazy trickling river that evolves into all these paths and subgenres of games. But now, to my favorite and our greatest example yet, Celeste. It's been said by thousands, a million times over, but Celeste is one of the greatest pieces of media to ever be published. I've talked about Celeste in short bits multiple times on this channel, but I could never get the courage or honestly the right words to express how much passion and love I have for this title. Along with the fear of rehashing the majority speech of Celeste that's been said over so much throughout the years of these YouTube essays, I never could attempt it that long. But don't get me wrong, I would love any chance I can get to talk about this game. And right now we can discuss its value in its speed. You feel fast when playing Celeste, really fast. Have you ever wondered why that is? Each mistake and moment of death instantly throwing you back to the start of the screen where you died, forcing you to try again. Everything mechanically in Celeste is so fine-tuned to not only be fast and powerful, but your mobility has momentum. The other games have momentum too. Okay, Ghost Runner can do this. Speedrunners take more advantage of that than your average player would in Celeste. And then the speedrunners in Celeste take so much advantage of the momentum, it becomes broken. Players of all skill levels can utilize Celeste's momentum in a way, which is what I think differentiates it from any other indie game that has mobility in mind. You know what momentum is. I'm not here to give you a scientific breakdown, but do you really know what momentum does and how it's fully used in Celeste specifically? Momentum is the speed at which something or somebody is going. It's velocity, but increasing due to the object's weight or its whole mass. So in Celeste, if Madeline is played normally, there will be pauses and buffers in their speed due to the player's control. But when the player has more accurate control and applies the dash, jumps, and their hyper dashes properly, accurately that is, it increases the speed at which Madeline can actually move. And Celeste is a frame-to-frame basis when it comes to level design, so it's like entering a new room. But the momentum you've gained continues into each room, becoming this blinding speed that seems way too hard to keep up with. But expert players can run due to the skill, of course, their muscle memory. Essentially, I'm describing Super Mario Bros. 3 like a fucking dumbass, but Super Mario Bros. 3 has cuts with its warp pipes and certain elements of its level, but Celeste, that just doesn't stop. The dashing mechanic is so versatile here, allowing you to dash into the ground at somewhat of an angle to start your boost of speed, and then moving you farther than a regular dash would, or a jump to whichever direction you were going, which should normally be right. But the dash into the ground almost boosts your jump you would normally do, lengthening your distance by a noticeable amount and adding a multiplier to your speed, to your momentum. This is important. Bear with me. I feel like a madman right now, but I think this makes sense. This makes up a vast majority of tech for the faster and more popular Celeste speedruns, alongside certain level routes and whatnot. I mean, have you actually seen a Celeste speedrun before, especially done by one of the higher professionals? It looks broken, but technically it's not. Celeste is really specific with its mechanics and world, so what sets it apart from other speedrunning games and games that have designs in mind is lack of exploitation. There's none there. For example, back to Ghost Runner and even Seam. The more complex this speedrun becomes, and the better a speedrunner is, becomes this exploitation momentum, dashing through levels faster than the game designers ever intended, right? But Celeste, with its brutally tight gameplay and beautifully executed levels, it makes this constant influx of weird tech and momentum seemingly purposeful. So not being this exploitation of the game's mechanics, but maximizing what the game wanted you to do in the first place, which boils down to the muscle memory and skill set of the runner. Maybe I'm not perfectly explaining this idea. I'm trying my best, but Celeste knows what you can do and what you're capable of, and out of any of the other indie games I've seen like this, Celeste wants you to prove yourself more than anyone else. Don't get me wrong, exploiting a game though on purpose and its gameplay is beautiful in its own way, terrifying almost. Ghost Runner 1 is very exploitable with its building of momentum, great level design, and allowing for these awesome runs, which is also why Ghost Runner 1 has way more active speedrunners than Ghost Runner 2. Sorry, not to hate on Ghost Runner 2 again in this video for the third time, but we'll get to that another day. Ghost Runner's 1 any% can be beaten in under an hour due to its fucked up speed and skips, not only from the skill, but the intense trial and error and knowledge of these broken steps. Celeste casually took me 3 times longer to beat than Ghost Runner, but the top any% speedruns being far less than Ghost Runner's average, just from the intensity of pure skill. How does that make sense? The highest skill ceilings in Celeste speedruns almost look fake, like the player is gliding through levels, not necessarily destroying the game as much as other ran titles, but off of pure tenacity that Celeste brings to the players' hearts. Celeste is brilliant. The story impacted me, leaving me thinking about the sincerity of good characters and learning about your own anxiety, and the harmonious fluidity of gameplay stuck with me for years. I remember staying up playing Celeste a couple years back in my first ever apartment. Then after playing so much for days on end, I would only take breaks to go to the bathroom and to go to work at 3 a.m. I would come back home at around 11 or 12 and crave that vibrancy immediately. going back on the game, barely getting any sleep. That week will stick with me forever. And the game resonates with me personally so much, so any chance I can get to dive into it, you know it's going to be a good video. Games designed to speedrun. What a fantastic development of gaming's evolution to make it to this very niche idea so I can talk about it in a YouTube video essay. I would love to talk more about this in depth or with more games akin to this way, Neon White, Dishonored, Mirror's Edge. There's way more where that comes from. But I haven't played these yet, or at least it's been almost a decade since I've at least played Dishonored, so I wouldn't do it the justice that it deserves. Listen, I love speedrunning, and I love that we come to the point of games replicating that style in its core intricacy, in its personality, allowing all types of players to gather around and appreciate something that gamers themselves created, the magic of speedrunning. I should really speedrun Curious George.